consider D, E, F, and G on the agenda together.
Okay, we have a motion by Lampe to consider all 4 D, E, F, and G together.
Second.
A second by Arnett. Okay. Questions or comments on that? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. D, E, F, and G on the table, so we will now look at ordinance 26-19. Ordinance to amend section 220-3, classes of licenses and fees of the City of Watertown General Ordinances, sponsored by, I'll do it at the end. Ordinance 26-20, ordinance to amend section 220-9, regulation of licensed premises and licenses of the City of Watertown General Ordinances. Ordinance 26-21, ordinance to repeal and recreate section 428-8, outdoor open container temporary downtown outdoor refreshment area, TDORA. And ordinance 26-22, ordinance to amend section 410-52, possession of alcoholic beverages on public ways of the City of Watertown General Ordinances, all sponsored by myself and Licensing Committee on its second reading. Mr. Blanky, go ahead.
So this was discussed extensively at Public Safety, and I appreciate Alder Davis's work on this, and identified some items where I believe we need a little more work, specifically how Public Safety will approve the special event permits regarding TDORA. That said, I think that this provides a good framework for the overall goal of what we're trying to do. We will need to revisit this ordinance and add some items to it. In fact, one item I would like to make a motion to add tonight that was discussed when this was brought before Licensing Board is the boundaries of the TDORA. At licensing, it was implied that it would be the downtown district. However, that's not referenced in the ordinance. I would defer to the city attorney as to where the best place to put it would be, but I would like to add that I'm not making that motion yet, but I would like to add that we reference the Main Street District as the boundaries for the TDORA. Because one of the concerns that was discussed in Public Safety is, can this be done anywhere in the City of Watertown? Because there is no actual boundary defined.
Mayor Stocks.
Sorry, Ms. Davis, go ahead.
It's my understanding that Mr. Blanky wasn't making a motion yet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I do have some follow-up questions for the attorney in regards to this. This is 428-8. And as Mr. Blanky pointed out, we're looking at letter A under the definitions. So this would be number 2, where it says temporary downtown outdoor refreshment area, TDORA.
Ms. Davis, what page are you on? I'm sorry, what page are you on?
This would be 428-8. This is ordinance F. I don't.
58.
Thank you.
So TDORA means a contiguous area designated by the Common Council, Exhibit A, in which possession and consumption of alcohol beverages is permitted under 410-52C3 of the Watertown Municipal Code and Public Ways, subject to adopted rules and conditions, and only during a city-approved special event pursuant to 428-7 of the Municipal Code and within the boundaries approved as part of said special event permit. So my question for the attorney, and I'll just add on to what Mr. Blanky has said, could you please point us to Exhibit A in this ordinance?
It should be attached. It's the map that was previously considered.
It was not attached. And it was also not attached on June 16th when the council voted on this for the very first time. And I would also say it's probably safe to say that there are council members who have never seen Exhibit A and so have no idea what it is or what the boundaries are of Exhibit A. And so I'm also curious to know why Exhibit A was included in parentheses rather than the boundaries being written in text as we do so many other things, whether it's a no parking zone or a one-way street. So I'm curious to know about that, and why it was included as an exhibit so it could be lost, and why it's not included in the text. And then I have some other follow-up questions about this.
It was just a style decision. There's no any which way on why we chose to do that. If you were to make such a motion, this would be the appropriate place to make that designation.
Now, as a follow-up though, this hasn't been published then. So that not only have the council members not studied the TDORA map that's Exhibit A, but it's not been published for the community. And I think there would be two alders that would be interested to know that 6 to 7 blocks included in the proposed Exhibit A TDORA are residential blocks. So that would mean that if that portion of the TDORA is activated, then walking past residential houses and next to the post office, which it's against federal law to have alcohol on, people could have open containers of wine, beer, and then also intoxicating liquors. So that would be hard liquor. So I think it deserves review by this council before we just automatically designate it as a common council. And I think we should look to see if that area that is proposed is an area that makes sense for TDORA. So I think it's actually a major flaw in this ordinance that's been presented. And I don't think it's something that can be just rectified on the floor tonight, where we just slap in the Exhibit A while we probably have council members who haven't seen it. I was able to find it because I went back to the licensing board minutes and found it there. So I think this is a major flaw that needs some additional time for us to look at to decide if we're comfortable with the TDORA being alongside residential areas. They're zoned residential. I would also point out that our open outdoor entertainment permit currently does not allow those events, open outdoor container events, along residential areas. So I wouldn't support us just putting in either, I know you're saying just the downtown area, but there's no map. We need to be able to look at it. I don't know what the downtown area street designations are.
That was a clerical mistake on my end. I just emailed it to you all.
Mr. Mayor, just as a point of clarification, though, the downtown business district is 2 blocks north and 2 blocks south, and it does restrict itself to the commercial portion of town.
Can you?
Yeah, between, is it First Street? Water Street,
Goes down to Dodge.
and then Washington Street to 6th Street, I believe. Washington to 6th Street, and then, yeah, Dodge to Jones. It was to incorporate businesses in those areas. Actually, City Hall is in that area too, but at least across the street. Ms. Davis?
I do have some other comments that I think are very, that are errors that I think we need to consider. So just to go back to what we've just concluded with, it was an error that Exhibit A was not included in the ordinance, and it was not included in the ordinance that this council voted unanimously to support at the last meeting. But there's another serious concern, and I actually have some questions for Megan Dennison, our city clerk. So this is in regards to 428-8 as well. So the title of this is an ordinance to repeal and recreate Section 428-8 Outdoor Open Container Entertainment Event Permit relating to temporary downtown outdoor refreshment area. So bring us up to speed, Megan. Tell us currently which groups have to apply for the outdoor open container event permit. Currently, who has to apply for that?
It would be any group hosting the event, sponsoring the event.
Any group sponsoring the event, or if they are a licensed, temporary license B picnic license holder and they're selling alcohol.
Well, the TDORA is.
No, I'm not talking about the TDORA. I'm talking about the current code for the outdoor open container entertainment event permit. Who currently has to apply for that?
So that goes hand in hand with a Tempe license, which is a handful of groups, mainly nonprofits, that can apply for those.
So if you're a nonprofit and you get a Tempe license, picnic license, and you're having a special event, then you apply for the outdoor open container event permit. So in addition to following Chapter 125, those Tempe license holders selling alcohol at an event also have to follow our Tempe ordinances. But in addition to that, they have to follow all of the procedural guidelines that are currently in the code for the outdoor open container event permit. And so I don't expect you to see the text, but maybe you can see my highlighting here. This is the current outdoor open container ordinance. And you see all this highlighting. These are procedural guidelines or operational guidelines for that Tempe nonprofit to have in place if they're hosting a special event. So some of those would include they have to have wristbands, or they have to have signage up to designate the area, or they have to have people that are watching the exits to make sure people don't carry out open containers. Interestingly, as I mentioned before, an open container event cannot be in a residential area. And also interestingly, they can have 16-ounce cups at open event, even though the picnic license is for 12 ounces. Why do I bring this up? Well, it goes on to the next portion. Temporary downtown outdoor refreshment area. That's the TDORA. This 428-8 repeals the current regulations for the outdoor open container entertainment event permit and recreates it with the TDORA. The TDORA is specific to a geographical area, which is the downtown. So my question for either the attorney or for Megan is to answer this question. If the council tonight goes forward and approves this 428-8 proposed ordinance, what procedural guidelines, what operational guidelines would be in place for a nonprofit with a Tempe license selling alcohol at a special event outside of the downtown area? For instance, a nonprofit selling alcohol at Riverside Park at a 4-day music festival. We know that they'd have to follow Chapter 125. We know that they'd have to follow our temporary Tempe license requirements. But please tell me what other procedural requirements would be in place for nonprofits selling alcohol outside of the downtown area.
Everything contained within Chapter 125, our ordinance cannot supersede that. That always is in effect in addition to the special event ordinance.
But what we would be foregoing are things like signs, wristbands, individuals checking the exits. We find them important enough to put into the TDORA, because if you look at the TDORA regulations, they have to have wristbands, signs, people checking exits. But if we go forward with this ordinance, what procedural requirements would be in place if a nonprofit wants to sell alcohol at a Riverside Park? What local procedural guidance would be in place for them by code?
Special events. That's what would control.
So I think what I hear you saying is there would be no guidance to require in code to require Riverside events such as Riverfest to have wristbands, signs, people watching exits, or anything like that. There would be no local requirements for events selling alcohol outside of the downtown area if this is approved tonight. Is that correct?
I have to look at the Tempe.
The Tempe does have some requirements, but not the ones I just mentioned. Also, Riverfest would go from 16 ounces down to 12 ounces. We know that they'd follow Chapter 125. We know that they'd follow the Tempe requirements. But there would be no other local requirements, even though we've included them for the DORA. There would be no requirements if you hosted an event, sold alcohol as a nonprofit at any other place in Watertown outside of the downtown area.
We don't have an answer off the top of our head. We can look into it and get back to you.
So just as a follow-up, Riverfest signed an agreement with Watertown, and in that agreement, it requires them to fill out the outdoor container event permit. And as a part of that, they had to have a lot of things in place. Why? Because we value safety, and we seem to value it because we've included it for the TDORA, but they would no longer exist if this is approved tonight. So there are two major flaws in the proposed ordinance. The first is the Exhibit A that's been missing, and the second is the repealing of the open container outdoor event permit.
What's that?
I was trying to follow you. Mr. Lampe, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been looking at DORAs and was very happy actually to see that we made some progress on this after umpteen years. This has obviously been a priority of a lot of Main Street businesses. The Main Street program has been looking at this for more years than I've been involved in the city. And this is, I think, a valuable step forward because it essentially addresses the core concern of a lot of establishments downtown, which was their inability to jointly participate in a community event where there were multiple existing establishments. Under our existing code, basically every single organization would basically have to either pick an organization, which is exactly the structure that you saw under every Blocktoberfest to date, is there was one primary organization and they basically pulled a special event permit. This particular TDORA change actually eliminates that requirements and essentially allows two establishments on opposite sides of the street, particularly in an area like Blocktoberfest, to equitably participate in the event. So I'm very happy with what I saw in there. In addition, the area that is outlined here in Appendix A, and as Alder Davis said, that was a bit of a mystery to us when we were looking at it, public safety. But the area that's located here is actually an area that has held 6 successful starter events. Those of you who've been on council a while have heard me every year Blocktoberfest comes up. This is like a precursor to what a DORA is going to look like in the city when it comes through. So there's been, I think, 4 of those now, as well as 2 successful downtown chamber events, all in this area, all under the special event permit, which provided us with specific limitations, and we had an opportunity to review that, and all have been basically safe and successful events. So I'm overall very much in favor of this ordinance. I do want to be sensitive to a couple of the concerns that were raised with regard to specifying where the organization is. So I do want to actually make that motion. I think Alder Blanke was getting close to in terms of baking in the dimensions that were described in Appendix A into the ordinance. And then I also would like to suggest something that we've done with other ordinances and agreements, especially pertaining to entertainment, where we weren't necessarily sure what was going to happen, which is basically put a time limit in there. Something, again, that we previously have done with the original Riverfest agreement that we did the town square, and that basically this is something very similar in my mind, that this basically paves the path to success. It's built on a bunch of success, but there's also a need to go back and tweak perhaps other things and look at it, but I don't really feel like slowing down the process too much at this moment. So if you bear with me, I'd actually like to make a motion then to modify on page, I want to get right so everybody can follow along here. I believe it is on page 58. This is in 428-8, section A. I would like to suggest an amendment to that that would strictly define the boundaries of this district to being east of Washington Street to the Rock River, south of O'Connell, north of West Madison, And then also west of 6th Street to the Rock River, south of East Madison, north of Dodge. And I believe that that essentially bakes in what was provided to us in Appendix A tonight.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lampy, if I told you correctly, second by Blanky. Does that, page 58 you said, right? Okay. All right, discussion on the motion.
I have a question.
Wait,
I'm sorry, I didn't, I'm more
Ms.
visual.
Davis? Ms.
Oh,
Davis?
I thought you were
I
calling
want
me.
to see if someone else wants to talk to first, but. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Davis.
I'm sorry, I thought you were calling me. My apologies. I'm more visual, so that went by way too fast for me. Were the dimensions, the boundaries that you just indicated, identical to the boundaries in Exhibit A? Mr. Lampy?
As to the best of my knowledge, so Washington to the far west, O'Connell to the north, that should be the one street that's north of Main, west of the river. Hopefully somebody can check that for me.
One block north, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, 1 block north of Main Street, east of the river is East Madison. So that would go to 6th Street, drop straight down 3 blocks, and 3 blocks, or 2 blocks south of Main, 3 blocks south of Madison would be Dodge. Cross the river again, and the street over there is called West Madison, where it intersects South Washington.
It matches the map, I believe. I did that too earlier, Ms. Davis. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Arnett and Ms. Nataki, these are your districts impacted. Those are residential areas. If you look at the hours that the TDORA can be in place, I think on the weekends, do you guys have it in front of you? Is it 11 or is it 12 on the weekends? So that would mean that going past residential houses during those hours, there would be open containers and people on the sidewalk, potentially. It's a potential. So those are your residential districts. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Mr. Arnett. Sorry.
That potential is not significantly different from the current state of affairs when you have alcoholic establishments in that area. And those establishments do their level best to make sure that no activity occurs outside. But we've got that, and we have retail right alongside it. So honestly, I think that we've had a good history with these type of events in the city thus far. I think that those who have been housing them, have been hosting them, have been effective in controlling their customers. And I think that the procedures in place as proposed will help to ensure that that stays intact. And therefore, I again view the possible as not being significantly different from the possible that exists right now.
You're not on the spot again.
Oh, no. I have to agree with, Alder Arnett. Do we know any numbers of, accidents or, you know what I mean? Like arrests or with,
Special events?
for
you mean?
special
No,
events.
you got-
Do we have any kind of data?
Yeah, we can certainly take a look at that. It would be very anecdotal. And I would have to go check those statistics and get back to you on that if you wanted me to.
I know several of the businesses that run these things, and, I don't hear a lot of bad things that come from them. I believe that they are doing a great job when it comes to these events. There are going to be a few people that, you know, are going to wreck it. You know what I mean? Are going to cause a ruckus and things like that. But I don't think it's a large number of people.
When the TDORA was approached, the idea of an actual DORA, and I'm talking, Chief was one of the first people I talked to, you referenced the Blacktoberfest. So last year, the weather was not looking good for that Saturday, and they were wondering what they could do. So right now, all you drafting local waters, drafting has to be closed, and local waters license comes out into the street. So only that establishment. Nothing changed with special event permits. The only difference would be now that drafty could then be open, so you get multiple places. If I'm correct, I even asking police, I believe they just asked that if there was multiple places, if it was a different colored cup or emblem somehow on the cup, that would be the only difference. So nothing else should really change in a special event except that bigger one. If there was a rain event, it allowed the establishments to have their band or something inside. So that was really the big difference. I know there's some that even someone that spoke with like a full blown DORA that was not thought to probably even to happen at this point. So I was went with the temporary one that would just be able to open more places to sell alcohol and meet in the middle on the streets. That's pretty much the biggest difference right now. Mr. Berg, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you've, Mr. Mayor, you've actually hit on some of the main points that are behind this type of proposed change. And what you have currently under the example that they've been doing with that one business owner taking out a license and taking on the risk, and everybody within that defined area not being able to participate. This, the whole intent here is to make this more vibrant for the defined area that's going to be involved in this activity so that they all commercially benefit. You have food and you have entertainment, you have, obviously the alcohol is the area of concern, but the other businesses that are going to be within this defined area will now get some benefit from being within that defined area and being able to be open for business and receive benefit commercially from that activity. So it has, you know, a lot of upside on the side of helping the downtown defined area to have activity. It still has to be separately approved each time. It's not a blanket type of allowance on a continuing basis, and it's a per event where they're going to have to be reviewed and approved.
Point of order. I didn't want to cut Alderberg off because his comments are pertinent to the overall discussion, but at this time, I believe we should be discussing only the boundaries.
I was thinking that
because is
earlier.
the motion on the floor.
Okay, let's stick with
So the comments are pertinent overall, but because we do have an amendment on the floor, we should be discussing only that at this
sorry, the
time.
amendment of the map. Yes. Okay. Let's stick with go, Ms. Davis. Yeah.
So I have a question for the attorney. We have a requirement to publish ahead of time. Exhibit A was not included and published for June 16th. It was not included or published for tonight's council meeting. That is a serious error. Legally, is it wise for us to insert the most important part of this ordinance? This is the most important part of the ordinance, the geographical boundaries. Is it wise for us to insert that without publishing it for public to know about and to be able to come and speak about? Is that a wise move?
I'm not going to comment on if it's wise or not. I can comment on if it's legal or not. I would say this is a clerical error, as the clerk previously explained. I'm also fine with the motion that has since clarified what the boundary locations are.
So let me ask the question differently then. As an attorney, you're to represent the best interests of the city. As an attorney, are you saying that you are comfortable with this council going forward by inserting the most important part of this ordinance and moving forward with that? You believe that's in the best interest of the city and the citizens?
I would say that this is legally defensible.
Is it in the best interest of the
She answered
city?
the question, Ms. Davis.
She didn't.
You asked her and she answered. It's done. We had no comment 3 weeks ago. I'm trying to make sure that the businesses survive downtown. We have business owners invest
Point of order, this is only for information from the mayor, not an opportunity for you to debate. I believe the attorney can take a look at that.
I'm keeping tabs on how much time everybody speaks. Yours is done too. Anything else on the motion to have the map? Okay, go ahead.
Lampy,
Aye.
Berg,
Aye.
Nateki,
Aye.
Blanky,
Aye.
Smith, Arnett,
Aye.
Haas. Moldenhauer. Davis.
No.
Motion carried.
Okay. To original motion, I believe, made by Lampy, second by Arnett. Mr. Lampy.
I'd like to make my second motion, which would be the inclusion of a 2-year sunset clause on this ordinance to be repealed or replaced by that time.
In the middle of reconstruction?
To have the ordinance replaced by that time. The intent is to have any other issues that people see resolved by that time.
So you're hoping that it's revisited somehow within 2-year period?
Right.
Gotcha, okay.
Effective today?
So
2
you
years from
want,
today? Sure. Okay.
so you want this revised, looked at by July 7th of 2028? Okay, we got a motion by Lampy. Okay. Motion by Lampy, second by Nateki. No timeline if it's next month or next year. Okay. Any thoughts on that? Okay.
Lampy.
Aye.
Berg,
Aye.
Nateki,
Aye.
Blanky.
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Arnett,
Aye.
Haas. Moldenhauer.
Aye.
Davis.
No.
Motion carried.
Okay, the day of July 7th, 2028. Okay. Back to the original motion. Mr. Berg.
Yeah, I'm sensitive to the points that are being made and the urgency. I know we have an event in August that we potentially want to have this available for, if I'm not mistaken. But what would be the harm in meeting again on the next time we meet in July and actually taking action and letting this go into some type of coverage that'll be in the paper and out in public? Anybody coming forward who is with a strong opinion is going to show up. And I mean, I'm all for taking action, but I also see there could be value in postponing for a 2-week period and taking action then.
Well, there's a lot of businesses, 120 tents coming up second weekend in August, so time is of the essence. So a lot of people are looking for something to help with losing Riverfest. So this is pretty important.
I agree with that.
And so is when that road is 12 feet deep in a hole to make sure people are going down there. In this case, it's about alcohol. It's about having people down there and shopping and encouraging them, having live music. So I guess that's the choice we make if we want to help those businesses survive Main Street and try to have a productive weekend when the rides from the carnival for Riverfest are still there. We got a nice car show going that Sunday. So I guess that's the decision you guys got to make. I know how I would vote, but.
But again, as a point of order, I'm not against it. I'm in
Yeah.
favor of, I'm just making the case for a delay of 2 weeks.
And you, no,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, Mr. Blanky.
this, to Alderberg's point, the only public comment on this so far has been in the affirmative.
Right.
Both at the council meeting, the previous council meeting, at the public safety meeting, at the licensing board meeting. There has been no opposition to this at all. And I don't see the point of delaying something because the boundary wasn't perfectly laid out in the ordinance. I think that, and the boundary was discussed at the licensing board meeting. I think pushing forward with this tonight is just fine. I don't, especially with a sunset of 2 years. We're going to revisit this Well, I think that going forward tonight is fine.
Could be detrimental towards the big pop-up, Mr. Berg. So to answer your question, okay, Mr. Lampy.
I just wanted to comment in terms of the expectation here. By putting that 2-year expectation on it, mechanically, if we think everything is fine, yank that clause after these events have taken place and proven to everybody else that essentially these can also be, these events that have basically happened under special event also happen safely under TDORA. Just yank the clause as a mechanism. But my expectation is that we're not going to revisit this year. We're going to let some of these events come through. I fully expect like Blacktoberfest to refile potentially as a TDORA, as they've indicated for years that they are interested in. We definitely need this for the big pop-up, as the mayor has indicated. But basically the intent here is basically after these events have once again taken place and have been a great success, we basically say this ordinance is good enough or it needs a couple of extra tweaks. But the intent here is to look at this after this season, maybe after 2 seasons.
I would ask, I worked for 2 mayors, and if I was going to make a motion, especially something significant, I'd usually let the mayor know and let the staff have a chance to look up information. So I'll ask, move in the future for 9 of you, if you want to make motions, things happen on the floor, I get that. But if it's something big, I would appreciate a heads up so staff has a chance to look into it. It doesn't do any good to wait till the last second of the meeting. So I ask for 9 of you, if there's something that you want to make. I gave Ron and John that message and called them. So I would appreciate the same thing back at me. Otherwise, please don't make them here. Anything else on the motion?
Mayor?
Mr. Arnett?
I do think that Alder Davis has a point with regard to the repeal of all of the existing language in 428.8. I think there is value in that language.
I do too, Mr. Arnett.
What I would like to understand, perhaps the city attorney is the best person to address this initially. If we do not have those provisions in 428.8 at the moment moving forward, would it be possible, first, and maybe this is a question for the clerk first, would any event, such as an event happening at Riverside Park that wants to have alcohol, have to go through a special event permit?
Yes, and they typically do.
Okay. So the second question is there anything in our code that would prevent us from adding provisions to special event permit, incorporating all of the regulations that were in 428.8?
No, particularly when they're renting out city property. It's something that we, and I don't know what the rental agreement looks like off the top of my head, but that's something that we can include in just scanning our ordinance during this discussion. We do have a code section specifically for Riverfest that would address many of these provisions. We can look at incorporating that to whatever agreement that we have in place for rental of city property.
And my question was purposely not phrased for a specific event, but really for just an event occurring, an outdoor event occurring, outside of this definition. And at a future point in time, of course, we could come back and revise this and incorporate what language we felt was necessary from the prior version of 428.8 regarding outdoor and re-add it essentially back to this if we felt that was necessary, but making sure that in the interim, again, there would be no obstacle to us adding provisions to a special event permit that intended to have alcohol that would effectively achieve the same outcomes as the existing regulations.
Correct, that would be fine.
Thank you.
Mr. Lampy.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address that last piece about the unexpected ordinances. So one of them I do think was a necessary clarification. As you mentioned, that basically addressed a clerical error that was essentially unforeseen by the rest of the council. But the other thing is I'm going back through the public safety notes. We did discuss at the public safety meeting, we did talk about a couple of individual ordinances that folks were potentially interested in. I don't necessarily know I see that reflected in the notes. So apologize for a lack of heads up on that.
Ms. Davis, go ahead.
For the special event application, it is prescribed in the ordinance, the requirements on the application. So to Mr. Arnett's point, wouldn't those additional requirements need to then be amended in the ordinance? Because it's a prescribed application.
It could. We have a number of regulations as well that are not included within the ordinance, just because it's too much to include in just one particular ordinance. So we could, I guess, I would suggest for these few events that do occur that it goes into the regulations during the 2-year time period.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Berg, go ahead.
Mr. Arnett, I'm sorry. Mayor Stocks, I just want to make the comment. I always respect your input and comment when we have discussion like we have. But I know when we have healthy discussion, we're potentially going to make amendments, changes to a piece of legislation which is typical and normal and appropriate. And the example of a sunset is an amendment or a change which made that legislation better. Again, other things we do as legislators are meant to improve legislation. And we don't know, a lot of it occurs in the context of the discussion we have. And it's not anything that can be, and obviously there's things out of line that you can't do, but there's a lot of things that are within the parameters of discussion that are allowed in an amendment, which we have no necessarily heads up on. It plays out in the course of discussion. So I just want to make that overall point.
And Mr. Berg, I realize that. I would hope that if you have something planned and know, it's not so much for my knowledge, but when staff's asked, it would be good for any of them.
Yeah.
Things come up, and Mr. Byer was online, and I didn't mean to not make motions on the floor at all. I just hope when you know you're going to make something huge to give me a heads up first.
Sure.
Because I like to let staff know as well.
Yeah.
If possible. Maybe something happens at 6 o'clock. Tell me I can't tell staff. But it's a courtesy I gave Mr. Kruger and Mr. David. I would appreciate the same thing as all I'm asking, if possible. Okay. Nothing else, we'll go to the original motion then. Sunset clause is in, the map is in. I believe those are 2 motions that passed. Okay, Megan.
Was that Arnett that?
I believe Lampy made the original motion. Arnett was seconded, if I'm correct.
This is the whole ordinance.
Oh.
As amended.
Amendments with the map and the sunset by Ms. Davis.
Would this be a time to ask questions about the other ordinance that we brought to the floor together?
You have questions on E, F, and G as well?
I do. I have a question about one of the ordinances. It is ordinance G, which is possession of alcohol beverages on public ways, 410-52. I notice that under C, number 2, it says this section shall not apply to those areas designated in subsection A of this section that may be temporarily closed for a city-approved event. You'll notice that's been redacted. I would advise possibly taking a look at that. I believe that's the caveat that allows for drinking during July 4th events. We discussed this previously at a previous year, and I believe that's the carve-out that allows people to bring alcohol to things like the Christmas parade and the 4th of July parade.
You had more questions, Ms. Davis?
I do not.
That was the last one.
Are you suggesting something?
I'm just bringing, Mr. Berg is asking if I'm suggesting something, and I'm just bringing this to the attention of possibly the attorney or whoever else is interested in examining whether or not I'm correct, that that is the carve-out that allows people to bring alcohol to the 4th of July parade.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Arnett.
Ms. Haas.
Go ahead.
I guess my question would be why 2 was struck in the first place.
What page are you looking at, Ms. Haas?
The
60.
C
61.
61.
61.
Thank you.
It's just,
Davis was just referencing.
we just tried to rewrite it to provide clarification. It should be contained within, I believe, subsection 1, right, Megan?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just rewritten.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. If nothing else, we'll take a final vote with Lampy starting.
Aye.
Lampy,
Aye.
Berg,
Aye.
Nateki,
Aye.
Blanky, Smith,
Aye.
Arnett,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Moldenhauer,
Aye.
Davis. Motion carried.
Okay. Last one, H, ordinance 26-23, ordinance to amend section 76-4, time for payment of taxes of the city of Watertown, general